Coming up tonight on the news at 6.
My hyperthyroidism got so bad, I was having trouble with my heart.
The Senate is poised to pass a historic bill that includes expanded coverage for veterans still feeling the effects of Agent Orange. Plus, how remote learning is creating new challenges for both parents and students.
From Montana's news leader, this is MTN News at 6.
Good evening. Welcome to the News at 6. I'm Marian Davidson. Thanks for joining us. Well, new tonight at 6, the Senate is expected to follow the House of Representatives and pass this year's $740.5 billion defense bill. Now, included in the legislation, a provision introduced by Senator Jon Tester to expand coverage for veterans still feeling the effects of Agent Orange. MTN's John Riley reports.
Deer Lodge native Rodney Williams will be one of the veterans expanded Agent Orange coverage will directly benefit. Williams was drafted into the U.S. Army in 1966 to serve in Vietnam, during which he had exposure to the compound. More than 50 years later, he's still living with the consequences of the government's actions.
My hyperthyroidism got so bad, I was having trouble with my heart and things like that, and I had to have they operated on it. And they found cancer in there, so they took my whole thyroid out.
Hyperthyroidism is fairly rare in men, and Williams says he doesn't have any family history for the condition. A 2016 study of VA patients found that veterans exposed to Agent Orange had a higher prevalence of thyroid cancer. The amendment will ultimately expand care for 34,000 veterans across the country, ensuring they receive care for hyperthyroidism, Parkinson's, and bladder cancer associated with Agent Orange. Senator Tester says the legislation helps America keep its promise of taking care of its veterans.
It's more than just health care. Anytime you get these conditions, it affects your quality of life and affects your ability to be all you can be. And so this also impacts disability pay too.
The VA has been conducting research on the connection between veterans exposed to Agent Orange and the development of Parkinson's, hyperthyroidism, and bladder cancer. That research was delayed due to the COVID pandemic. The passage of the legislation will circumvent the need for that research in order for vets to receive expanded care and benefits. Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
Senator Steve Daines also supported efforts to expand Agent Orange care for veterans and pushed for the inclusion of the amendment in October with 45 other senators. All right, now it's time for First Weather with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz. Good evening, Curtis.
Well, good evening, Mary. Good evening, everybody. Just had lost the color here on our haze camera, but you can see off in the distance, and if you watched in the 5 o'clock news, we were looking at really thick fog right in here, but you can see the fog coming and going across much of northern Montana, out the High Line, the Rocky Mountain front dealing with some fog as well. These numbers, humidity-wise, of course, you could get up to about 100%, and then the air is saturated. But this is a lot of moisture here, low-level moisture for Montana. There's not a lot of wind out there. We had a little precipitation come through last night, and that low-level moisture is resulting in some fog that is forming. And again, where you see the numbers in the 80s and the 90s, that's where we likely will see some not only fog, but also freezing fog here tonight as temperatures drop well down below the freezing point. A London fog, if you will. Little, light, lots of opportunity for, again, some flakes of snow. Don't get too excited. And almost Arctic, some cold air coming close to parts of the state. I'll have more in the full forecast coming up.
The U.S. Surgeon General is in Montana this week to assess the state's COVID-19 situation. He said there are positive signs, but people need to continue what they are doing to slow the spread. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian reports.
On Thursday, U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams joined Governor Steve Bullock for a news conference at the Montana State Capitol. Adams noted the country is currently going through some of its deadliest days for COVID-19, but he said he sees reason for optimism.
Montana has proven that these mitigation efforts work.
Adams said he's pleased to see that the rate of positive COVID tests in the state has gone down in recent weeks. He credited that to people taking steps like wearing masks, distancing, and keeping gatherings small.
We know more than we ever have before about this virus. And we know statistically that your efforts are working to slow the spread.
However, he remained concerned that many Montana hospitals remain close to capacity.
That means if you aren't scared of the virus, you still may not be able to get a hospital bed if you have a heart attack, if you're in labor, if you get into a car accident, because there may not be a bed available.
Adams acknowledged some people have questions about the health guidance they hear, since experts have changed their advice as they learn more about the virus. But he said data now shows clearly that masks work to limit the spread, and that the new vaccines will be safe and effective.
We will have more data on the safety of these vaccines at the point of administering them to people than we've had for any other vaccine in history.
Bullock said the state expects to get its first shipment of vaccines next week once they are federally approved. They hope to have 60,000 people receive a first dose by the end of the year, starting with healthcare workers. Adams noted tribal communities have been hit particularly hard by COVID. On Friday, he'll travel to the Fort Peck Reservation for the opening of a surge testing site. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
Bullock said nearly 300 healthcare workers from outside Montana are now contracted to work in the state to help hospitals under strain. Now taking a look at the state's COVID-19 situation, state and locally reported data shows Montana's COVID-19 case total topped 71,000. More than 16,000 of those are active cases. 819 Montanans have died as a result of complications with the virus. MTN uses numbers from local county health departments and state figures to deliver the most accurate count on cases each day because local county health departments may be alerted to cases before Montana DPHHS. And still ahead on the news at 6, as COVID-19 cases continue to rise around the country, many schools are switching to remote learning. We'll show you what challenges many parents and students are facing heading into the winter.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the news at 6. Many schools across the country are moving to remote learning as COVID-19 cases continue to break records. Alexa Liaco met with a family with 6 kids that's getting ready for winter all together at home.
STORMTRACKER weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist.
It's time for music! The Robinsons' home is now a cafeteria.
How many do you want?
152. A classroom.
And I don't even know where London went.
And a gym.
Hand down to the side.
The family's 6 children are in 5 different grade levels, spanning from kindergarten to high school.
1.
At the beginning of the school year,
1, 4.
some of the kids did in-person learning for part of the week.
I was very grateful when they were able to go to school.
But with COVID-19 cases spiking this winter, all 6 are indefinitely back to remote learning.
Your thing isn't working?
The decision dropped a heavy weight on mom Alexi Robinson.
I was like, close the restaurants, close the malls, close everything. Just please, let's keep the kids in school because it's just so hard. It's so hard and so frustrating that I just want to just break down and cry.
Robinson and her husband both work full-time to support their family.
I leave before they're awake. My husband's gone sun up to sundown every day.
Robinson says her older kids have been taking on the teaching role while she and her husband aren't home.
How long's your break?
I couldn't do it without him. But then I don't want them to suffer either. They get reprimanded by their teachers, you know, if they're late or if they're, you know, leave for a second. So it's hard.
Riker, a freshman in high school, and Hallie, a 6th grader, say they're struggling in their own classes just to help their siblings.
You just can't focus. Like sometimes you're on remote by yourself and you still can't focus.
Right.
But you know, when there's kids around, it's noisy. They're like, hey, can you answer this question? It's just hard, you know. Just got to understand it's really hard.
They say being both a teacher and a student is taking a serious mental toll.
Because they're so little, like they don't understand when we need to work.
I'm used to being kind of like the oldest, the babysitter and everything, but this is like a whole nother level of just like stress.
It's especially tough because the 2 youngest children are in special education for speech therapy.
I think it's harder for them, you know, to stay caught up without that extra, you know, help with the live teachers and stuff, so they all could potentially fall behind.
Put your ruler away, please. Falling behind is a concern for many families across the country.
And you're sure that's today, not tomorrow?
Teachers like Lindsay Datko are fighting to help.
Got it. Ow. If they miss those developmental windows, it will take them years to overcome habits that were poorly formed for the average student. So we will see the effects of this for years to come if we don't act now.
Datko is tutoring students doing remote learning.
Sorry, look at your spelling. You did so good.
And has been working with local leaders for months to give families a chance to choose whether in-person or remote learning works best for their students.
The whole spectrum is struggling, and we can do something. We are pushing for the choice.
The Robinsons are hoping the new year will bring them the choice to send their children to school.
I know that they do a lot better in school. I hope that we can get through it.
Because they're not sure how much longer this homegrown classroom can last.
Just a minute, sweetheart. Mom's trying to figure it out.
I'm Alexa Liacco.
All right, now with another look at the weather, Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz.
Almost Arctic air moving towards the state here. This is the real cold stuff up into Canada, well below zero, where you see that pink and that white. Watch what happens as we get into Saturday night and Sunday. Here comes some of that really cold stuff clipping northeast Montana. Some parts of northeast Montana on Sunday morning will likely be below zero. Let you know about the rest of the state through the weekend and next week coming up.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz.
Welcome back. Good Thursday evening. Beautiful December day out there. Finally feeling a little like December with much cooler temperatures here. And most of the state saw nice clear skies. You're looking at Geyser right now, looking at the high woods. In Great Falls, looking at current temperature of 28 degrees. Yeah, much cooler than the 50s and the 60s that we've had in Great Falls seemingly since the beginning of December. Almost even all the way back to Thanksgiving is when some of this warmth and dry weather moved in. In Helena right now, literally freezing. South wind light at 5 miles per hour, feels like 27. We're in the 20s and 30s for most of the state, but Cutbank 18, Dillon also 18. East Glacier area up through Babb and St. Mary, there was up to 7, even 8 inches of snow from that little system that came through late yesterday, last night into early this morning. We've got fog out there. Typically you do not get fog with wind unless you're up on top of a mountain in a cloud, or up on top of Mount Washington where you get that all the time. But light wind allowing that kind of moisture to just stick around here. We're not drying anything out. Watch out for some of that freezing fog tonight. No precipitation, but here is the next system. Just a weak little area of low pressure that will move into the western part of the state tomorrow. A nice storm system down here into the southwestern U.S. First time Phoenix has seen rain in about 115 days. That's pretty long here. And some snow into the mountains. This is beautiful because this is an area that's under some pretty bad drought conditions, and elsewhere very quiet across the country. But the couple of storms here in the western United States are a sign of all those storms out in the Pacific starting to move into North America here. Here's a look at future track tonight. Watch that fog again out the high line. Temperatures down into the teens and 20s. We could have some freezing on the road. Surfaces could be a little slick. Tomorrow, maybe a little light snow here off the Rocky Mountain front. Tomorrow is a gray day for everybody. Overcast, a little fog in the morning hours here. It's later into the afternoon that some of this snow will move eastward from Kalispell, Missoula into the Helena area, eventually up off the Rocky Mountain front through Great Falls. A little later on in the evening out through central Montana here as well. This is a light snow event. Remember, light, little, lots of opportunity though. I'll show you that in the 7-day forecast as we go through the weekend into next week of more light snow events. This little system, maybe a few snow showers still on Saturday morning, but by Saturday afternoon, at least western and central Montana, we'll have a nice amount of sunshine coming through. So snowfall accumulation tomorrow afternoon and evening into Saturday morning, where you see that gray or whiter shade of gray there. That's as much as about 1 inch or 2 of accumulation. So not that much. You probably don't even have to break out the shovel, maybe just the snow brush. But watch out along the high line here tonight with temperatures down into the teens and 20s, and of course that fog. Freezing fog should be real pretty tomorrow with the fog freezing, the rime ice that forms on trees and power lines and whatnot. Teens around Lewistown, teens around the Helena area. There's that little area of low pressure. Light, little, Tomorrow afternoon and evening in the western and central part of the state, eastern Montana, a little sunshine once that fog burns off. For Saturday, the snow moving out of eastern Montana. May have a couple of flurries around Great Falls and Helena in the early morning hours, but look for increasing sunshine in the western part of the state. Sunday, the next system coming in, not a major snow producer, but there will be a few areas of snow, especially in the western mountains. A little windy as well on Sunday, and then heading into Monday, looking at a few scattered snow showers lingering. Again, they're light. They're not really going to accumulate that much. Helena, 7-day forecast, so some light snow tomorrow afternoon and evening through the overnight into Saturday morning. It's more like consistent flurries at best. It's not really that going to be very heavy. No, not 226 degrees for Saturday night. Thankfully not. About 26 degrees, but a little light snow on and off Saturday and Sunday as well. Into Monday and Tuesday, a few snow showers around. For Great Falls, a little light snow tomorrow evening. Watch out, those roads could be a little slick. Some snow showers on Saturday morning, and then sunshine by Saturday afternoon, and a few flakes Sunday, Monday into Tuesday.
Thanks for that, Curtis. Coming up, how the Fighting Saints basketball teams are faring after their last 5 games have been canceled or postponed due to COVID-19.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the News at 6. The Fighting Saints men and women were cruising at the start of the 2020 NAIA basketball season. But now their last 5 games have been canceled or postponed due to COVID-19. MTN's Sam Hoyle checks in with the teams.
Well, this certainly isn't the start both the Carroll men and women basketball teams were hoping their season would get off to. Cancellations and postponements were certainly not out of the question trying to play amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. The Carroll College women a perfect 5-0 to start the season, and their last 5 games have been put on the shelf for the time being. And head coach Rochelle Sayers says this time has been extremely trying.
It's just kind of an emotional roller coaster. Mentally and emotionally challenging each week to kind of, you know, it's not only are you know, is your team ready and okay to go, are your opponents ready and okay to go? And so, you know, when you get those negative test results and you're ready to play, there's that excitement, but then you're waiting on what happens next.
Though it's obviously frustrating to have games canceled, Sayers says she understands and appreciates why the protocols that have canceled the games are in effect.
First and foremost is the safety of our student athletes and our coaches and families. And so, I mean, that's why we have the protocols in place. Everybody continues to say, well, it keeps getting canceled for COVID protocols. Well, that's why they're in place, to make sure that we are, you know, keeping everybody safe and doing the right things.
The Carroll men are in the exact same boat, starting the season at 2-1 with their last 5 games put on hold. And head coach Kurt Paulson said while the stoppage has been frustrating, they're still way ahead of many NAIA teams across the country in terms of games.
And we're lucky because we have played 4 games. We did a scrimmage and then 3 counter games. So we're ahead of most of the teams in our league, at least at the NAI level as far as games completed, so we're thankful for that.
The season has already proven to be a challenging one from both the players' and coaches' perspective, but Paulson hopes that once teams are able to find a groove, the season will actually be fun.
And you have to adjust and move forward from you know, the circumstances of that week. And once we accept that fact, I think things will get a lot more fun for the kids and easier when they just know that we have to be on our toes and be flexible.
While the last 5 games for both teams, the men and the women, have been postponed or canceled, they'll get 2 of them back. They'll play Montana Tech, the men on the 16th and the 31st, the women the 17th and the 31st. Reporting in Helena, Sam Hoyle, MTN Sports.
All right, and we'll wrap things up here on the News at 6 when we come back.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching MTN News at 6.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the News at 6 this evening. We'll be back tonight at 10 with your latest weather and news headlines. And of course, you can stay up to date around the clock online at ktvh.com. We'll see you back here tonight at 10. Thanks for watching.